Greetings, Ranger fans. Jake here for another Database Rangers Power Reviews review. We are doing our live commentary of all of our classic Database Rangers Power Reviews episodes. Bring my camera a little closer to me there. Oh, there goes my charger on the laptop. I hope that everyone is doing wonderfully this evening. I see we already have Jenny C, Lex, Dan. I believe I saw Chris and Sean there as well. Fantastic. Good to see you all. Hope you all have had a wonderful week. Right now, hey there, Scott. I'm just counting down the days since until I start doing my my part-time parental leave. It's only another 2 weeks before I'll be staying home with RJ half the week, so that'll be nice. Yeah, I've heard the big leaked news with regards to Power Rangers distribution moving forward, which has not been confirmed through anything official, but during Chance Perez's interview, as I'm sure many of you heard, he made mention that Power Rangers would be airing on Nickelodeon for the first season, but on Netflix for the second season, and that has obviously been making the rounds through social media. Very interesting. Don't quite know what to make of it yet. I've long been a defender of Nickelodeon as a home for Power Rangers because it has given it such consistent time slot for so long, and because it is the highest rated kids network still in existence. And I feel like any other channel, it would get buried even worse than it does right now. And Netflix, I've always been a little skeptical because you can't get toy commercials in Netflix, and you can't, and Netflix tends to do drops rather than the week to week, and those long stretches in between episodes have always been a point of contention for Power Rangers fans. So if this is true, I'm very curious to see how it's all going to play out. Did you say DRPR 102? No. News on 93. I'm still making arrangements for filming with those pickup shots with my actors. I'm anticipating that it should be soon. Hopefully we'll be able to get those pickup shots in the next week. Keeping my fingers crossed, knock on wood, as everyone's vaccinations are taking hold. There were just some family business that they needed to attend to that should be resolved now, so hopefully we can get together to get those last few shots taken care of, so that 93 will be able to be released in the next few weeks. But as soon as I have confirmation everything's locked down, I will put together a trailer with a release date for 93, so that you can all see what the new episode is going to be. I'm very sorry that I wasn't able to make it happen for this month. I really did want to make that happen, but honestly, it was just there were a handful of shots that we'd been planning to film before the pandemic started, and they just kind of got pushed off, and now it's just these last few shots, and we want to try and sneak them in. Hey there, Jala. Yeah, it's gonna be cool to see how they handle the Gold Ranger. I'm assuming Dino Fury Gold will be arriving in the fall. But yeah, Sky, you're saying if they return to 44 episodes per year, honestly, I don't see them doing that. Unless Hasbro decides to really invest in the show in this particular iteration of the show in a big way. I don't know. Maybe that's the reason they're moving to Netflix, so they have the flexibility for more episodes. I have no idea. And I don't think anyone else does right now either. Or at the very least, no one who's capable of sharing. Like, I know that Simon Bennett has multiple times said that he has no information regarding the future of the franchise past Dino Fury. He's just focused on running the show, not what's coming next. So he's really trying to make the current season, the current installment, the best that it can be. But he has no insight into future installments because that's sort of above his pay grade. And as far as we know, it doesn't tie at all into the Jonathan Entwistle universe that's been in the works, which, according to a recent investor call, will also be on a streaming service, so that might also be Netflix. Or maybe it's not going to Netflix at all. It's going to some other completely different streaming service, and we just don't know about it yet. Just watch it all go to Paramount Plus. Who knows? Nickelodeon's on Paramount Plus, or at least a lot of Nickelodeon stuff is. So who knows? Maybe it'll be a Paramount Plus. Maybe this will be our version of Star Trek Discovery. I don't know what's happening right now. I feel like Power Rangers has gone through so many changes in so many ways in terms of its production over the years. And I'm really curious to see where this next step's going to go. Not the least of which, because obviously, as I have stated many times, my dream job would be to find a way to actually work for the show. And it's very hard to do that if you don't know what's going to happen with the show. As I ran into during my efforts in past years, when there was the transfer to Hasbro just as I was starting to make my inroads, and then all my contacts unfortunately left shortly thereafter. But again, knock on wood, hopefully we'll get more news soon, and we'll be able to go from there. But speaking of things I enjoy, of Power Rangers related content that I enjoy producing, going back to the past now. No, I did not confirm anything. I have no info on anything. I have no insider info on anything at this stage. I barely have insider info on what I'm doing from day to day. But I know that right now, we've got an episode of Power Reviews to take a look at. So, taking a break from those news, let's not forget, before we dive in, our opening 3 equally non-controversial phrases that we should all be able to agree are equally non-controversial to say, this time and human development. So, number 1, say it with me, chat. Black lives matter. Number 2, say it with me, chat. Fascism is bad. And number 3, say it with me, chat. Superheroes are fun. And let's dive in with an episode that I'm really looking forward to taking a look at. That is DRPR episode 24. The Power Rangers Megaforce episode 5, United We Stand, episode of Database Rangers Power Reviews. So let's dive on in. Ready? And go.
Previously on Power Review. Make some new friends.
This episode,
If there's anything I can do to make it up to you.
oh wow, and I hadn't really started blending my audio that well back then too. Everything was a little choppier back then. But this episode right here that we're about to watch is the exact reason that I decided that I wanted to have Guy move in with Database.
Greetings, Ranger fans.
This sequence that is coming up right here.
As you may have guessed, life has been a bit hectic around here lately. Ever since Guy moved in, things have been...
Wait. Are you really about to... Oh my goodness. Okay, I hate to skip my own ads for my own video, but Grammarly, what are you doing to me here? This scene. I loved putting together this scene. This was a scene that I had in mind from the very early days of the development of the series. Obviously, there's a lot of cutting, a lot of little shots. And it was just something that I had planned out very thoroughly so that we could have this whole sequence where basically it's a door-slamming farce inside a kitchen played out as a silent film across the course of like 2 minutes. Or not even 2 minutes. This is like a minute. This is the minute waltz that's playing. as we're going through. But just the time, the synchronization of everything, you know, the moment that he pulls out his chair, she's able to use it as a stepping stool. And every time he turns his head, away she goes. And then you cut to Database, just watching all of that happen.
Weird. How much longer is he staying?
I love that routine so much. Yes, sadly we couldn't get the pajamas that we wanted for Dr. K with the alphabets.
Not the best.
Well, at least he's spending today at the office. That's
Oh,
some
I
sauce.
forgot that I had the routine of the electricians working next door.
Weren't really on yet. What have the Rangers been up to?
They got new Zords.
But that whole thing where I'm pouring the glass of apple juice, I actually had like a big pot, like a big like tureen positioned on the table right under me to catch all the apple juice, because otherwise I would have just been pouring all over the floor, and we didn't want to make a complete mess of our kitchen.
So Emma and Gia bike through the woods, and honestly, I'm still kind of surprised they didn't.
Oh, and
name
I
the
even
guys Matt, Evan, and Jay.
So let me get this straight. Megaforce Yellow
yes,
is not only
making
a
fun
skilled
of
martial artist like
the
Megaforce Red, and
of
just
how
as studious as Megaforce
Emma and
Blue,
Gia are
he's also
so
a
close
talented
in
scientist
name to
on
Emily and Mia,
I guess they really
which
did
is
want
still
to avoid
hilarious.
replicating the previous Ranger Yellow.
So the girls have gotten dressed up in new outfits
But-
and everything to check out a
Oh yeah, this was one of the very few times they wore anything other than their standard outfits. And it was like they had different jackets.
Latin wasn't a dead language already. I think that was the final nail in the coffin. They photographed themselves with the flower, with Ranger Yellow mandating that the pictures must be kept private. They'd ruin my temporal image.
Their floral photo shoot is
But,
quickly interrupted, though, as Gosei
But one of the
summons
reasons
them
I
back.
wanted to do that whole routine was, it was one of the first things that I came up with regards to ideas for the show.
I trust you can handle
Because a big core
Go right
of
ahead.
the show
The
was
Rangers
going to
all
be
morph and meet up downtown to
the
battle
doubt
blues.
that Database has
By
over
very
Dr. K's
observant,
existence. That was going to be a driving aspect of this stretch of the show.
At least I think it's Farcical.
And it was one of the few things that I knew I wanted to do with the show before I even had like much of any storyline in mind. This was the story I wanted to have.
Return from where, though? I mean, we can assume it's from the
But-
battle, but for all we know, he could have been tending to
I-
some other business, and the guy the Rangers were fighting was a relative or something.
Oh, yeah.
until further notice,
This was another-
I'm calling this guy Brack and this guy B-Rock. I hope they clear this up soon, because if they're
It's-
not both Vrock,
it is
then
also very
it's
weird
really
that Vrock
confusing
has
to
two
have
different-
unnamed
two different
bears
charac-
so many similarities to a named
two
character
different
without any
versions of
proper
himself without
introduction or
any explanation.
Again,
And here we bring in Mayo to again really sell the weirdness of
he's still at work.
the weirdness of Mayo and Dr. K being identical. There's the weirdness of Dr. K being in the apartment as Guy is living there and him never seeing her.
Yeah. Me too. I mean, I think I probably overreacted a little bit. How's your jaw?
It's okay.
There was also
Ice couldn't fix.
Good.
I'm also
You know,
feel bad about the way that about my shooting of this, because I see myself looking over to the camera far too many times. But then again, I'm the only one who can see that it exists,
Good. I can still reach my Wi-Fi.
because I have that
What are
awareness.
you up to?
I'm just working on the episode.
What's going on?
B-Rock
So
here has
this
been
this was
observing
another
Power
fun
Rangers
aspect of
Megaforce
this
episodes,
episode, the trading
and
back
they're
and forth
impressed by
between
how
Mayo
well
and
Gia
Dr.
and
K,
Emma work
to
together.
really keep Database off guard in terms of his perception of reality. Like, the fact that Mayo looks so much like Dr. K is a weird thing for him.
Are those two?
If they are, Jake is in for a big surprise. Back on the insectoid ship, Vrack and Creepox are introduced to their latest ally.
And the jokes are also still just nice and on point, because Megaforce just gives me so much to work with. And this was also an interesting episode, because it was the first time that I brought in somebody from outside of the apartment to really help on the review.
Using her
because we had, you know, the housewarming party, but they were just sort of seeing the review that had already been edited, even though they did end up being a part of it. But this is the first time that anyone other than Database and K have been on the couch, and it's Mayo, and that feels really fitting.
Because he looks like a centipede.
And it's
Really need to work on their entomology.
Their ponderings are interrupted, however,
and it's one of the reasons that, you know, I felt so appropriate in episode 91 that when Database vanishes from the show, Mayo takes over, because she's been, you know, inadvertently inserting herself in the show from so early on.
It was the one with the Jay Leno ghost, right?
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah, the blue kid had that blaster. It was one of them when I was a kid.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the Thunder Stinger. It's actually popped up on PR a few times, including... You know what? It's not important.
And that's just such a great bit, too, that we have that connection of he makes a big bad Beetleborgs pseudo-reference, and that's able to connect to Dr. K and Mayo being the same person in different ways, and it... That's just something that was a very nice little fortuitous bit of material to play around with.
Are those two weapons even supposed to combine?
I don't think so. I think their minds might just be clouded by the spell.
So by fighting until they destroy each other,
this is all...
meant they would bicker and argue, but otherwise still defend each other in battle?
Guess so.
Yeah, Bizarre's
spell
is a little weird.
Commands like fanning her, filing her nails, and giving her massages.
Boy.
Exactly world domination.
Why did I get the feet?
Ew.
The actors do get some really good faces out of this bit.
Thanks.
I also like that I had that little angle on the camera for Mayo just because...
Oh, that's
Oh, yes.
Actually, I have no idea what her name is.
Perfect.
That's right. He doesn't know Mayo's name yet.
Security to my already long list of projects.
Anywho,
And this is Dr. K's first time spotting Mayo.
But when they can't agree between Emma's clues and
Gia's yes. Gia Focus episode subject of DRPR 102. Right. Yes, we get the joke, Scott. Yes.
And when Megaforce Yellow arrives soon after, flight is completely ignored.
It is ridiculous that Gia's never got her own Focus episode. But yeah, the reason that I had Mayo shot from a different angle compared to Database and K, who are straight at the camera, is because Mayo's not aware of the camera, so it wouldn't make sense for her to be addressing it in the way that they are. So I wanted to try and make sure to have that consistency. And now he has to remember, oh wait, no, I made this reference with the other version of you that's not here right now. And this was just that aspect of Database Ranger's character that I really liked playing with. Just having him be so confused by everything going on around him. And I have kind of lost that over time. You know, it obviously the... And of course this was the first time we did a My Little Ponies reference, even though... Which then became a running gag with the Alphabet Soup agents, even though I've never actually seen a single episode of Friendship is Magic. I think I saw some My Little Ponies back in the 80s, I'm sure. I want to say that we saw the movie on VHS.
Coming from the woman who placed a mammoth in the Paleozoic era?
Look, I was in R&D. Marketing was not my department. Speaking of which, I have calculations...
And there's our first iteration of paleontology being a sore subject.
They beat the anti-friendship spell...
And again, this fits so much with my farcical directing background. And I loved creating that for this video.
At least we still get a giant Megazord battle out the deal.
Because just a few years before this, I was directing Noises Off at my college theater, and I loved Noises Off, which is just one of the best classic farces. So I wanted to try and bring that to this show. There were basically I wanted the show to kind of be all anything that I could imagine it to be, everything that I could have fun with, any sort of creative outlet that I wanted to explore. Talking about Power Rangers, starring in the show, putting it together, doing animation, doing set design, doing farce, doing just comedy, mystery, just there's so many different things that I've had a chance to do with Database Rangers Power Reviews over the years, and it's gotten to be so many different kinds of show. And it is.
Yeah, they definitely could have handled that whole thing
better. It has evolved a lot, as was always the intent.
Just not talking it up as much as they did. Speaking of which, it's probably best not.
But this is just a nice, breezy, quick-paced episode that I'm still very proud of. Because.
By the way, there's something I've been meaning to ask. I never caught your name.
Sorry about that. It's.
Oh, and here comes in Guy.
Oh, hi, Guy.
And
unfortunately, I have to cancel our plans for this evening. I've been called away on business and have to start packing immediately.
And then this bit where Guy vanishes.
Guys later, then.
Bye.
Oh, and you can call me Mayo, by the way.
And there's Mayo.
I expect you to finish up your whatever it is. I have a 12-hour flight in the morning and we'll be retiring early.
His 12-hour flight.
Where are you going?
Far away.
So this, even though it's all the way back in episode 24, we did get a final explanation of what happened with Guy's trip in episode 87. So episode 87, when they all get sent back into their memories, we get to see where Guy was during this business trip that he goes off on. And we see that it was him researching this universe's version of himself.
Until then, farewell, Ranger fans, and let the power protect you.
But yeah, definitely one of the highlights of this stretch of episodes. I loved getting the opportunity to really play around with Database Ranger's confused perception of his life in a way that was very comedic and had a chance for a lot of quick trade-offs. It's like if that was happening on stage, the timing would have to be perfect, because and in universe that time, what he's experiencing, the timing is just so pin perfect. The moment that one character leaves, the other character appears. To the extent that you're wondering whether Dr. K is really there or not, because he's the only one who sees her, even as all these people are coming in and out of his life. In this case, it's just Guy and Mayo, but they keep popping in and out without ever running into Dr. K, and eventually we find out, okay, Dr. K is just that good at not being seen. But it really made you question, okay, is she just a delusion? And we, that does get ramped up in the upcoming episodes. But this was one where I really got to play with it, which I just had so much fun doing. We did that whole kitchen scene, just rapid fire shooting, where it's just like, okay, drawer, we got it, shot, okay, next, we need plate, got it, good, next shot, boom, cooking up the eggs, cooking up the toast, boom, 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 boom. So there's a lot of quick little cuts in that. And it was the first time that I really had to do a lot of shots for a single episode. Because otherwise, up until this point, it was mostly just straight on, headshots or group couch shots. And Kay's workstation, and that was really it. Like, we did go a little bit bigger for the 20th episode with the housewarming party. But in terms of just, like, rapid fire cutting between a bunch of different shots and creating this whole little scene out of them, that number with the kitchen was one that I was really looking forward to, and it came out pretty much exactly as I had pictured it when I first imagined it. Back before I think I even did the first episode. I think when I was still like talking to my friends about doing the show and I hadn't started it yet, I think I was already thinking of doing this episode, this scene, and this all the stuff with Guy and Dr. K and all the stuff with Mayo and Dr. K. Because it's fun and it plays to his, and it really plays to his questionable mental state, which is always great. As much as it did eventually have to resolve, because you can only stretch out that that tension for so long. And we as we saw in episode 92, most recently, he's done questioning his reality now, which I think is a sign of how much the character has grown over the course of these last several years. But that one was a good roll down memory lane. I smile thinking about that episode, and truth be told, the whole scene of Guy disappearing, that had to be shot separately. That's one of the reasons the eye lines don't quite line up. And the reason that had to be shot sort of at the last minute is because Guy actually, well, Dave actually was going on a trip and wasn't going to be available to film for a few weeks, so I had to temporarily write him out of the show. And the idea, and that's because he was going on a vacation out to Japan. And so I had decided then that, okay, Guy is going to Japan. But I was not able to get anything that could make for a visual cue for that flashback in episode 87, so it still remains, in universe, it's up in the air. But yeah, I finally got to explain where he was 63 episodes later. But I did have sort of the idea back then that, it was on special business for Alphabet Soup, that he was seeking out his alternate universe self, and choosing not to recruit them. But it's so fun having these little bits where something happened off screen, and then you think it'll never come back, and then 60 plus episodes later, I'm able to revisit it and make it actually something of a key aspect of his character in certain regards. That choice to... he sort of has that inner conflict of he's always had to choose the mission over whatever other life he could have had. He sort of cuts himself off from those deeper parts of himself, and he can't really embrace the life that he might want, because he's dedicated himself so thoroughly to his life with Hexagon that he's even erased his own past. And there's definitely some more aspects to Guy's character that we're going to be exploring in the upcoming episodes, as he sort of has to see how far he is willing to go, and how he feels about the choices he's made, and the life he's had to lead. So we are going to get some more character deep dives moving forward. I'm looking forward to you seeing them. I as excited as I am for what's coming up, I also just miss these classic episodes and having just that breezy fun with the show. That is difficult to accomplish now that the stakes are so high. I'm starting to get back a little bit of that sort of fun with the rapid run-throughs, and the deeper looks, being allowed to actually really look at the show without having to filter it through the story of Power Reviews. And the rapid run-throughs, man, I wish I could squeeze more jokes into those 99 seconds, but it's fun being able to really poke fun at the episodes again, which which I'm limited in my capacity to do within the context of the stories I'm telling at this stage. So yeah, I've probably yammered on enough about about this episode and how much I enjoyed it, and how it tied so thoroughly and thematically to the arc that is the year one spring season. This one's really just sort of a nice little peak. The next episode, things, we start to dip back down as we work our way up to the big disappearance of Dr. K and what that means for Database Ranger's psyche. But this was sort of that first kind of explosion of all these aspects of his life are colliding. And then everything's going to come to a head again and then again as things continue to ramp up and ebb and flow throughout the rest of the series. So, I hope that you all enjoyed my reflection on episode 24. I forget if we ever ate those eggs. Probably did. They were probably delicious. I hope they were I hope we didn't let those eggs get cold. I don't actually remember. But yeah, it was fun times. So, all that being said, I think I should call it a night. And let's not forget our 3 closing non-controversial phrases that should be considered just as non-controversial as all the others. So, number 1, say it with me, chat. Love is love. Number 2, say it with me, chat. Trans rights are human rights. And number 3, say it with me, chat. Robots are cool. I know I tweeted this earlier, but if I know there are a lot of in reference to trans rights being human rights, there are a lot of states that are pushing a lot of anti-trans bills out there right now. So check to see if your state is one of them, and see if you can speak up on behalf of the people who are going to be hurt by the legislation that people are putting forward. As I said before, trans rights are human rights. We should always be protecting them whenever we can. So I know there's a little bit of a serious note to end on, but I know it is important. I don't want us to forget about protecting the people in need. That's what Power Rangers. It's what the Power Rangers would want. So, thank you all for joining us once again. I can't wait to see you all again next week as we continue hitting our 1/4 of the way through this 100-week journey. It has flown by fast. And hopefully finally having an answer for you and a release date for episode 93, which will definitely be coming out in the next month. It's just a matter of making it happen. But until next time, farewell, Ranger fans, and let the power protect you.